My next guest on Tea Time with me, Ali Monjak, is Peter Isdell Carpenter. Peter has just written and released his first thriller, The Final Warning. He started to write the book for fun at the age of 80 and landed himself a publisher, Zuleika, in London. The book is set in the White House with the 46th President of the US as a key character. This week, the US presidential election is still going on. And if any of you feel like separating fact from fiction, then you will enjoy Peter's book. The book involves a conspiracy theory and does not have anything to do with Trump or Biden. Let's find out more. Well, welcome to Tea Time. It's quite a strange time anyway, isn't it, with the presidential election? The 46th President of the United States of America.
Very weird. Happening today
As we speak. It's a very strange situation that everybody's in because it's a 50-50 divide almost, isn't it?
I'm very concerned. I love America lots and lived there for a while. I'm married to an American, and I love the country and I love the people, and they're in a bad shape. It's not good.
No, it's not good as well. Also, obviously, the pandemic has played some part in that as well, hasn't it?
Hasn't it? Yeah. They don't need any more trouble, mind you, nor do we.
No, I don't think anybody does, Peter. Anybody does at all. So, I mean, your fascination with American politics started from a young age, didn't it?
Fairly young. I mean, I'm fairly old now, so it was quite a long time ago. I studied politics at university and then went off to America, partly because of that, just to investigate further. And I worked out there for quite a while, and fell in love with the place. I just adore it. I mean, its size, its stature, but its people as well. And and I've been going back a lot since. I had an American company I worked for in England, plus my American wife, and so we go back still quite a lot. Yeah, I love it to death.
Super. So, I mean, back then when you first started to take an interest in politics, did you ever think about writing a novel, writing a book, or not really?
Not in the least. No, not in the least. I was in the advertising world. The only quality I can congratulate myself about is a wicked imagination. So perhaps an expert would have said, maybe you'll write a novel because you just dream it up. But no, I had no such plans. I was busy living life.
Definitely. So, I mean, how did The Final Warning come about, really? I mean, we can see, what has inspired you to write this. I mean, it's not such a far-fetched story, is it?
No, there's more than one question in all of that. How I came about it. Well, when I stopped full-time work, I gave myself a little group of challenges to keep me busy and having fun. I took up art. My wife is a brilliant artist, and I love doing that. But I remember a fellow pupil mistaking my daffodils for beach huts, and this is not a good sign. And I remember putting a door handle on each daffodil and stopping, and I never painted again. I wanted to compose music. I used to play the piano, but somehow that didn't come about. And I wanted to write a book. I don't know what prompted it, but I thought, yeah, okay, let's give it a go. As to why that story, well, I've said part of the reason. It was always, I think, going to be set in politics. I think it was always going to be set in America. And I think because of this imagination thing, I think it was always going to be fiction, because you can let your imagination run riot with making anything up. So yeah, that's how it came about. Why a thriller? I'm not sure. Again, no, I don't know. It just sort of came upon me.
So I mean, the main character in the role is the book rather is the 46th president of the United States,
Yeah,
and post Trump and post Queen Elizabeth is no longer with us
yeah.
in your story. So this character, Adam Sakova, how did you create him? What were the was there anybody in life that you've come across that you kind of, you know,
Mm. Sort of modeled him on.
hmm,
Um, I don't think so, Ali. The way it worked, given that I knew it would be in politics, I was sure it would be placed centered on the White House, and it would have to be out in the future for the fiction to be credible. But funnily enough, the book took off once I had invented the other key character, who's a young guy called Chuck. He's Romanian. And Chuck is my favorite character in the whole book. And I loved the idea of a young intern, junior level, getting a job in the White House and finding himself in a terrifying conspiracy and ending up allying himself to the president. Whatever would happen, what could this conspiracy be, and what would take place? So it was really Chuck who kicked it all off. Once I got him, and I remember writing about him one evening and coming back down the next morning and reading what I'd written and saying out loud, I said, "Good heavens, I had no idea he was going to be like that." That fiction is brilliant because it just happens. Once I got Chuck and the situation that he found himself in, that honestly the story just took off, and it just. I mean, I was listening to John Grisham on a television program, you know, the famous author, and he said, "My advice to someone writing their first book, and of course this was my first book, is do not start the book, don't start writing it until you know what the ending is." I hadn't got a clue what the ending was. I had absolutely no idea where this would take me, and it was so much fun, just lots of momentum and cracking on. Yeah.
definitely. It sounds it. I mean, obviously, I haven't had a chance to read the book. I am looking forward to reading it.
Well, I won't
Um,
tell you. I won't tell you the ending because it's an absolute. Yeah, it's a real knockout.
right. It's a cliff. No, well, not a cliffhanger. It's a
It,
secret.
it's a complete shock and surprise. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
I
Okay.
know that, but I've had feedback. You know, the book was only published a month ago, but I've had feedback, and people are saying I thought I knew where this was going, but no, I could never have guessed that would be the end of it. So that's fun. Yeah, that's good fun.
That is good fun. So, I mean, with in light of having accomplished this book, and you never thought you would get a publisher either, did you?
Well, not really. I mean, like a lot of things that are fun to do, the doing of them is an end in itself. Like painting, I was terrible at it, but while I was doing it, I was in heaven. I didn't write this book to get it published. I didn't get it for commercial reasons. And I fear for people who are professional authors because they've got to get up every morning and work for X hours with a deadline for their next book. I didn't have any of that. I wrote when I felt like it. I just was having fun. But I did start to see that I was onto something. But it was the family really who asked to see what I was writing, and they started to say amongst themselves, so not to me to be polite, something, there's really something here. And I started for the first time to think, well, if it is any good, maybe I should pass it around. And as you know, I'm sure, getting a publisher nowadays, there's so many good writers, so many books, particularly with this pandemic, of course, everybody sit down and write. I'd finished my book before then, but still. But yeah, it just came to me that I ought to pass it around, see if there's anybody who liked it. And dear Zuleika, the publishers, came back and said, we think this is an absolute gobsmacking success. And armed with that, a third party who know what they're talking about, I went for it. So
That's
that
fantastic.
I finished it a year ago. So we've been waiting. We thought it was quite a good idea to launch it now at the election time, because it is all about the president.
Yes, yes, yes. So the 46th president of the United States of America.
Yeah.
And what a cliffhanger that is, you know, in real life, isn't it? So, yes, I should imagine that a lot of people will want to read the book, to have some sort of escapism as well from.
That's been another comment about it. So much that's real is stressful at the moment, and not nice. Let's read something which we can keep reminding ourselves is fiction. Of course, the question is, could what happens in the book happen in America? And to be honest with you, I think that America, as I think I was saying, is so divided now, so full of spite and anger and confusion, that the conspiracy that is at the heart of my book, you really could imagine happening. It stems from the dissatisfaction of very, very senior people in the country who conspire with others, outsiders, to attempt to bring down the government. Not just bring down the government, but actually bring the whole country to its knees. And the problem for the president is that he cannot come out into the open. He can't sort of send in the troops and arrest these people. He doesn't know who they are. And he only knows that they're probably some amongst his own team, which turns out to maybe be the case. And hence bringing in little Chuck and saying, look, no one will recognize you. And if they do, they won't mind, because you're just a junior 21-year-old. So I want you to go out and find out what the heck is going on here. Chuck just lives with his chums. You know, he's just a lovely lad, as I say, living for today. And he gets sucked into this terrifying ordeal, and the deadline gets closer and the cobwebs get more enmeshed. And it starts to involve an awful lot of people and places and situations. It gets more complicated. But it's a fast read, short chapters. That's what someone said to me. If you want people to read your book and enjoy it, short chapters.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, you know, people don't want to be, especially with a thriller, they don't want to be in suspense that long, do they? And, you know,
no, they don't. They don't want to have to read page. Oh dear, here's another page. They want it to move along. But they do need a break. I mean, one of the things that people have said about the book is that at times it is very funny, and the characters in it have a wonderful time with each other when they're not sucked into this vortex of terrifying stuff. And that acts as a bit of a relief. You know, the scene changes, and the way in which these bunch of friends in a bar in Washington end up meeting the president and interacting with him on one of his happier moments. There are plenty of light spots in the book to keep you from giving up.
Yes, yes. Well, I mean that shows that, you know, it is fiction, because, you know, in the current state of affairs out in the United States, there's no let up, is there? Really?
There's no let up, and there's not a lot that's very funny either or enjoyable.
No. So, do you think this has inspired you maybe to write a sequel? Could we see Chuck having a comeback?
Could be. It's a question I get asked. People who have read the book struggle to imagine where the sequel would go. I can say no more. I have got an idea for another book, which my dear wife Tony is, I think, secretly a bit worried about, because she'd quite like to have me back for a while. But I have got an idea for a book, and it does feature a couple of the characters. But it's not a direct sequel. It's not like part 2 of the story, if you see what I mean.
Right.
It's more a first cousin than a son. Put it that way.
We're not going to give too much away. We've got to get reading this book, haven't we, to know what's going on.
You have, but I mean, I think the bug does get you. I know of more friends who would love to write a book, their life history or a novel or whatever, and they dare not because they can't bear the challenge. Once you've done it, you see what fun it is, and you just don't get commercial about it. Don't worry about a publisher or will it make any money. That's it's a complete distraction. And I say to them, I hear people saying, but I know, Peter, you wrote a book, but I know I can't. And I say to them, wait a minute. You only know that you don't know whether you can. Just change impossible to possible and give it a whirl. And there are a couple of people I know who are doing exactly that. And hey, maybe.
Absolutely.
So I think there probably will be another book.
Right. Okay. So, and will it be another thriller? Do you think thrillers are going to be your niche?
Niche is a big word for a single novel that I've written, but I know what you mean, and I think the answer will be yes. Thriller in some sense or another, a mysterious, worrying thing happening that has got to be sought. The answer's got to be found, and the answer takes you here, then there, then elsewhere. Yeah, I think so. I've got a friend who's in the publishing world, and I asked him if he'd show the manuscript to his book side, and he said, "Well, of course I will, because you're a friend. But I've got to tell you, as well as getting 30 or 300 manuscripts a week or something, if they like it at all, they are going to say, how many books do you think this chap Peter is going to have in him?" And he said, in all honesty, I think I'm going to have to say, well, I'm very surprised he's lasted this long. I mean, my 80th birthday in 2 weeks' time.
Happy birthday for 2 weeks' time. Well, what a birthday, what a milestone and a celebration to be able to say that you've had your first thriller published. So I've got high hopes for you, Peter.
Oh, God bless you. Well, I hope so. I mean, we've not been able to celebrate. We were going to have a bit of a launch party, and that hasn't happened. But we'll find ways. It's going well. Amazon are selling quite a lot. There are some lovely reviews on Amazon. That's what excites me. So, when you write a book, it's all very well for your friends to say they like it, your family say they like it, but it goes out to the public. They don't have to like it. They spend money. And so when they write and say, wow, that is a big buzz. And there's an audio version out now. So that's exciting. And the man is brilliant. I mean, he's got so many different voices and places and situations to read. He does it really well. But I can promise you it's a very odd thing to listen to somebody reading your book to you. That's a funny feeling.
Yes, absolutely. But how lovely as well. How lovely to think, you've created this story and somebody is reading your book out loud.
Yeah, it is. It's a thrill. Yeah, no question. I happen to live in the same village where Jane Austen used to live, and people are teasing me that I'm the second famous author from Chawton in Hampshire, and I say any suggestion that we are compatible is pure fiction.
Yeah. Yes, no, not the sort of novels that Jane Austen would have written. No, because sort of I think Jane Austen's would have been slightly tamer in comparison, to be honest.
I'm not going to. I certainly wouldn't critique Jane Austen. I think she's absolutely magical, but a different line of attack to a book. Yeah.
Well, I think every author has their niche, don't they? They have their genre or their particular style of writing. I mean, if you had to pick an author that perhaps you've not copied, but have really looked up to, enjoyed their works, and wanted been inspired to write with them, who would that be?
It's such a good question. because when you're being inspired by somebody, you don't know you are, if you see what I mean. It's kind of subconscious. I suppose the first person there are two that come to mind. One is Robert Harris, who writes the most amazing fictional stories. But what I love about it is the way he takes a historic situation, a factual situation, or place, or both, and he makes a story within that itself riveting. I think that's so clever. And I suppose in a modest way, that's what I've tried to do by taking a real place, real situation, but weaving a fictional story within it. The other person who I love, I admire almost more than anyone, is Vikram Seth, who wrote A Suitable Boy that's been on television lately. He's Indian. And he wrote another book called Unequal Music, which I think is almost more superb. He actually writes a novel where he describes in words Beethoven's music. Now, that's just not possible. And yet you are riveted and you can hear. And I think that inspired me because I am musical in a modest sort of way. It's a good question. I'm not sure I've answered it.
I think you have. I mean, it's a stylized of writing, and we all like different things, don't we? But Robert Harris, I've actually interviewed Robert Harris before.
Okay.
Yes, and he is an amazing author. No, quite rightly, and I can see how you would be inspired by somebody like him, because
I think to do anything that even faintly resembles or tries to resemble what he does would be such a challenge, because his research, the depth of his knowledge, and the breadth of his imagination is wonderful. Yeah. There you are, Robert. Sign my book.
Hopefully you will. Well, there you go. It's all exciting stuff. So we can now buy the book from Amazon, can't we?
The Final Warning. Yes, it's on Amazon. It's now on Amazon in America, which is interesting, because how will America react to a Brit writing a story in America at the sort of heart of power? That'll be interesting. Yes, so it's you can get it on Amazon. You can get it from all the big bookshops, Waterstones, etc. I love it when people enjoy it as much as I did writing it.
Oh, no, well, that's lovely. And I'm sure they will. I'm actually itching to read it myself now, because like you, I shared the same sort of passion for America and US politics, I have to say, completely fascinates me as well. I mean, it's a fascinating way of having a democracy, isn't it, really?
Well, I mean, I fear for democracy in America. It's not how it was back in my day when I was living there. I always felt that America knew where it was headed and how to get there. And I think they've lost that. I think that some of the goings on, without naming names, are really calling into question the validity and survival of democracy. I think also capitalism has started to get almost too greedy. You build a business. You used to do it in order for a lot of people to, or at least a byproduct was, that ordinary people could be given a future, security, enough money to live and enjoy themselves. That was capitalism, which was a wonderful thing. And I suppose it was inevitable it would go a bit selfish. But I rather think that now capitalists are in it for themselves. They always were, but in it almost at the expense of others. There, you see, I've gone all heavy, and I didn't mean to. This is a thriller. This is not like that.
And no, absolutely. I mean, it is good to think about all those kind of elements, which I'm sure you have been thinking about when you've been writing your thriller, and just how things do happen in life, because I think that is the sign of a good book. Although it's fiction, you're still taking on board some of the elements that are already happening within the political landscape of America.
Absolutely. And what I don't know, and you're making me think about it in a funny way, is I don't know which came first. I don't know whether it's because I've been thinking about what I just said about America and how it's changing, not for the better, and democracy and so on. Did that lead to the story of my book because it's in there? Or was it the other way around? And has my interest in those things, those real things in America, been brought about by what I've written?
Yes.
With my head empty of it until I'd written the book, and I thought, oh, and I started to look at the real life. I don't know. One can get too heavy about these things, but the important thing is to take them in your stride as far as possible. And if you're going to write a book about it, make it a damn good read. You can't wait to get to the next chapter, rather than something that pontificates, just like I've been doing.
No, absolutely. I'm really looking forward, as I said, to actually reading the book. It holds my interest anyway, because I do, as I said, love to look at the US and the political landscape. But I think, something like that, where there is a thriller and there's goings on in the White House, really appeals to quite a wide range of audience. And I would think actually that Americans will want to think, well, let's just have a bit of an escape route here.
I mean, I would. I've sent a copy to my sister-in-law who lives in America, my wife's sister, and she gave it to somebody who said, "I'm really puzzled. I don't know what to think about this, because I know it's fiction, kind of frightening."
It is kind of frightening. Well, look, Peter, it's been lovely to meet you. It really, really has. And good luck with the book. As I said, I look forward to really getting a moment to read it properly.
Well, very kind. I hope you enjoy it. The Final Warning. Hope you love it. Shall I send you a copy?
No, that would be lovely. Do that.
Why don't I do that? All right.
Super. All right. Well, thank you for coming on. Tea time.